Hello and welcome to Meet a Columban. I'm Fr Jim Mulroney and my guest today is Fr Dominic Nolan. Now, Dominic is a Melbourne boy. After he was ordained a priest in 1969, he went to the Philippines and virtually has been working in that country ever since. He's had a variety of apostolates that he's been engaged in, mostly centered around parishes, but back in the 1980s, he became interested in a project that the Columbans were promoting called CEL. Now, CEL stands for Centre for Ecozoic Living and Learning. Now, ecozoic is a term which was coined by a great ecologist, Berry, his name is, and it's a term that refers to what we call the end of an age in the ecology of our planet. He foresaw early what we're talking about a lot today in terms of climate change, where many species are being killed off and starting to disappear. He foresaw this quite early, and he began writing about how we can act and what we can do in order to save much of the life of our planet. Now, the CEL organization is based on this concept, and it's a small center which I'm going to ask you now, Dominic, to describe what it is like, what it looks like, and what it does. So welcome and thank you for coming.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks for the opportunity. Well, CEL sort of grew out of the idea from Columbans about we speak a lot about many things and ideas and concepts, but what is actually helping people? So the Ecozoic Living and Learning Centre was living it and learning from it. We were fortunate, things were serendipity. They came together nicely. Frank Carey, a Columban, and John Leyden. John was very interested in Berry's ideas. Frank, very interested in permaculture and making the most of everything we have, but above all, being very practical and giving people practical living with this saving the planet and climate change. We were fortunate enough to have a woman who had a property who wanted to do something like this. So many Columbans, three of us mainly, got together with her and we set up a place where people could come and learn about what is happening and perhaps possible solutions, not complete solutions, but things they could practically do in schools, in parishes, as individuals, and all sorts of organisations. It's developed. The place is small, 2 hectares about. We had some fun. We walked it and walked it and walked it, found the right places to grow vegetables, to grow food, the right places to grow herbs, the right places to have quiet places where we could have a chapel or a meditation area, another place where you could have lectures and invite people to come in and talk and listen and learn. And overnight, we built it out of bamboo. We could have gone concrete, but we built it out of bamboo. And thanks be to God, Father Frank Carey, one of the founders, he was very keen on planting bamboo, and we planted the whole boundaries with bamboo. Only we forgot something. Bamboo doesn't grow in a straight line. Bamboo sort of goes out. It was clumping bamboo, which grew out like a circle. It wasn't the stuff that goes down underground and can come up half a mile away. Not that bamboo. But then we had to be very careful because we discovered they had big spikes about this big, and with children there, we had to be very careful that they above 7 foot and make sure that they weren't injuring anyone. So the place was there. What's it like? It has a huge garden and small animal section with chickens and rabbits and ducks and worms. Then it has a whole other outer area, which are like fruit trees, and then there's a whole boundary of the place which we leave natural. When we came there, we discovered there were about 6 different birds there, types of birds. When Frank, God love him, before he died, there were over 20 came in. Don't ask me where they came from, but it went from 6 to about over 20, and which is phenomenal. And we have all sorts of schools and parish organisations and different people come through to have our seminar, which is information and practical work.
Do you have a way of preparing the land, I think, so that it will hold as much moisture as possible?
Right.
And prevent excess runoff of water?
Right. There was a big slope on the land, so we terraced it, mainly terracing it, and we used the local coconuts cut in half and the fibre in those as barriers. So the water, let it come down. The idea is to keep as much moisture on your land as possible. Simple. No water, no life. No life, no plants. Simple.
And what are the worms for?
The worms for 2 things: for their castings. That's the manure that they give off. They go through, they'll eat most things, and you find out what they like and feed them plenty of that, as long as there's sufficient moisture, not too much because you'll drown them. And you've got to be careful of their enemies. Ants are their enemies. Heat is their enemy in the sunshine. So keep them in the dark and feed them any matter that they might like. It could be anything, leaves and all that, composting and fruit, sure. But they do love rotten cardboard and the pizza packages. They love that. I think it's the glue. I'm not too certain.
And they produce manure, right?
They produce manure. They go through and they dissolve, everything goes straight in and out. And all the enzymes from the worm themselves are beneficial to plants. And their castings you can put straight on the things. For instance, chook manure, you would never put it straight on the ground because it would be acidy and it would destroy things. And most animal manure, you'd rot it or compost it down first. But worms, you can use it straight away. And you can make what they call vermi tea. You can put it with diluted and then use it as a spray or around at things for fertilizer.
Now, these are natural ways of sort of making the most of what you have.
Yes.
So if you produce your own manure, you don't have to buy it. If you use minimal water, you don't have to worry so much about water shortages.
Yes.
So there's a financial benefit for people too.
Yes.
And in many parts of the world, financial benefits, especially for farmers, where farmers' incomes seem to be decreasing and decreasing, anything that you can do technically, which is cheap, which is natural, both preserves the natural resource that we have and is a cost-saving mechanism for the people on the land.
Sure.
So did you have any way that you were passing this knowledge on?
Yes, we had little seminars which we devised ourselves on taking their piece of land, looking at what they had, then stopping and say, what do you want to do? And we found any time spent in planning and in getting very clear their ideas of what they wanted to do, however simple, however small, didn't matter. But to organise and just think about what they've got, what they want to do, then the how would come. Now, you can't do it on a huge thousands and thousands of acres, although you can plan for that as well. But our idea was for little people, little farms, mothers, kids, getting a whole herb thing where they can use for their cooking, using small green vegetables which they can grow, and that on a very small scale. But they can provide 2, 3, 4 nights of vegetables for their own family the whole year. Now that's important. You can't grow rice, of course, but on a small scale. But you can grow vegetables that you feed your kids. And you know, the better the food that the worms give, the better the fertilizer, the more healthy the plants are, the better the kids are. Simple. It's a simple logic.
Now, your other passion in life in the Philippines may immediately seem not quite connected to what you've been doing at CEL, but in actual fact it probably is, was to introduce the reading and understanding of that mysterious book called the Bible to people in parishes. Now, I'm not too sure what drove you to that interest, but maybe you could speak a little bit to that too.
Well, working in a parish, as you know yourself, you have all your busy parish, but one thing that just continually hit at me, we didn't understand our book. And our book, well, you could say the New Testament and the Jewish book, of course, the Old Testament, they were our books, but we didn't seem to be familiar, and we were sort of a little bit scared or wary or venerated, yes, respected, yes, but understanding, and not only understanding, but putting into practice. It's very interesting. I gave 2 seminars for the ecology and introduction to scripture, and I always started with John's Gospel. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word became among us, bringing life. And it's all about life and pro-life. And pro-life is very broad about being for life. So, as I said, for the land, how do we produce life? How do we protect life? How do we build life? And then in scripture, what was this life? He came to give us life and life to the full, and then work from then on. But I found young people, I was fortunate enough with our bosses to avail of a course in Rome of men and women who really inspired me to understand and to take some of the mystery and perhaps give keys, yeah, that's a good word, keys that open up and unlock some of the mysteries that are there in our scripture. And knowing who Luke was, who John was, who Matthew was, who Mark was, what's the difference? Why do they have a different opinion? And it's very easy, of course. If anything happens, any incident at a football game, you get 4 people to say what happened. You'll get 4 different versions of it, especially if they're the opposition when they see it. But to understand what is there and to get that and to make it part of their life and have to deepen their relationship to Christ, to understand who Christ is, what's this life all about. That's vaguely it.
Now, I think the story you've told us of CEL and the story you're telling us now about trying to open up the mysteries of what really is our salvation history do have a similarity. Thomas Berry tried to introduce us to the story of the universe, the story of what's happening to the planet, to the land that we live on. And the Bible is opening us up to an understanding of who we are in relation to God, and how we can positively respond to both of those stories, both the story of Thomas Berry in the universe and the land, and the story of the coming of Jesus Christ and the salvation of our people. So there's a really close similarity, I think, intertwined between those things, and both of them can lead us to maybe a better way of living, perhaps a more simple way of living, but something that we can perhaps cope with a lot better than the complex messing around that we're inclined to indulge ourselves in. So Dominic, thank you very much for bringing us your insights and spending time with us today. It's greatly appreciated, and good luck with your work in the future.
Thank you very much, Jim. Good on you.
We've been talking to Dominic Nolan from the Philippines, and I'm Jim Mulroney, and I say thank you to everybody for spending this time with us.